talk a little bit about the purpose of this panel. It's to establish a protocol. So one thing that Carrie Fowler said this morning is that it's important to establish trusting relationships. And recently I was at a board meeting with the USDA Plant Board, Central Plant Board, and there are a few concerns with them about reasons why they don't trust our goals here as seed libraries. And so part of what I thought we would go over on these protocols is to go over the issues that they feel might be compromising the seed law, which is it's enacted for very specific reasons, and I think it's important that we regard those reasons. So this is a challenge, and it's creating an opportunity for us to have a dialogue, as Rebecca Newburn said that we have an opportunity here to have this dialogue and to create these protocols before they've been created for us. So I hope that on this forum we're able to kind of clarify some different things. Some things I'd like to talk about on this protocol and that we'll be talking about with these lovely panelists are germination testing, seed return forms, labeling, cataloging, regulation, is it necessary to establish regulation, and then integrity, purity, and noxious weeds, and then signage disclaimer for consumer protection. So here we go. Next to me is Renee Tanner, and I don't know, did you want to show the slideshow during or after?
Yeah, why don't you just introduce me and then I'll do it after.
Okay. I'll do it after. Renee grew up in Tucson, where she knows and enjoys the challenges of growing plants in hot environments. Continuing to enjoy the heat, she is currently the Life Sciences Librarian at Arizona State University in Tempe. Prior to joining ASU, she was the Agricultural Librarian at Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana. Renee has a bachelor's degree in fine arts, a master's in soil and water science, and a master's in library science. She began the Seed Library at ASU in 2014 with the support and help of the Gardens at ASU, a student-run gardening club on the Tempe campus. Other contributors include the School of Sustainability at ASU, the Native Seed Search in Tucson, the Urban Farm founded by Greg Peterson in Phoenix, and to date over 175 seed packets that have been distributed through the Seed Library at ASU. Next to her, yeah?
No, thank you.
Okay, absolutely, you're welcome. Okay. Next to her, we have David King. Drawing on 50 years of gardening and experience and his love of plants and food, David King teaches growing and food for UCLA and UC Extension. He is Grandmaster of the Learning Garden on the grounds of Venice High School, a local hub teaching gardening to children through adults. His concern over genetically modified food and the acceleration of erosion of diversity in our food led him to call a meeting of any gardeners who would be interested in a seed library in Los Angeles. As the founding chair of the Seed Library of Los Angeles, King has seen the organization grow from 20 members in December 2010 to over 1,000 as of April 2015. His first book, Growing Food in Southern California and Other Mediterranean Climates, is expected out sometime before our grandchildren leave college. His grandchildren.
No, yours.
Okay.
I don't have any.
Okay, me neither. I don't have children, so. Okay.
It's going to be a long time.
Time is good.
Time is good.
Okay. Okay, then we have Joe Allen, an avid seed sloth. Joe Allen is on a quest to find endangered heirlooms that thrive in the dryland West. An entrepreneur since childhood, she started Aravipa Heirlooms, thank you, in 2010 as a way of to bring genetic diversity, veggie starts, and seeds to the people at the area farmers market and events. In 2011, Joe read an article about seed libraries and brought the idea to Justine Hernandez of the Pima County Public Library, here we are, who took the idea and ran to the finish line. With the fellow seed geeks George Bradley and Leslie Brunzel, she started the San Pedro Seed Exchange to strengthen community resources, educate, and to learn. Through all these efforts, she's ensured that hundreds of endangered and dryland adapted heirloom plant varieties have gotten established in southern Arizona farms and gardens. Common climate conditions throughout the arid West, coupled with the popularity of online social networking, have highlighted the need for regional online seed networking. And Joe is working through with like-minded individuals to establish Southwest Seed Exchange. You wrote the pronunciation on the bottom? I missed it. Okay. All right. Okay, and on the end over there we have Kelly Wilson. She was asked to join the team as someone with a botanical background. Having worked in the plant nursery field and owned a landscaping business, gardened and composted and propagated plants locally for many years, she has a degree in political science with a background in ecology and environmental biology and a master's in library science. She is the primary team member behind setting up the logistics and systems of food protocols associated with the PCPL Public Library, and she and the team continue to adapt protocols and procedures in order to address the changing needs and issues associated with the public seed library. Okay, so we have a few people that have some slides, and I'd like to take the opportunity to show these slides. Renee, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see, do I need to go over there to make it large? Okay, yeah, just hit the view slideshow.
I gave you the remote bits.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Maybe you can show
Here we
her
go,
how to use
and
the
then
remote.
that one. Yeah. Great. This
Oh, there you
is-
go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm Renee Tanner. I'm at ASU, and this is how I kind of got started. When I started at 2011 at ASU, and I was really interested in doing an exhibit. And so I did one on seeds, and the Native Seed Search provided a lot of the seeds. And it was such a beautiful exhibit, and actually had Bill McDorman come and talk about seeds and what we were facing, and that got some students interested and led to some more exhibits. And we can go to the next slide. I think that's the last. That was the poster that we had for the presentation that he gave. And I love that photo. It's so beautiful. Of course, the message is a little daunting, isn't it? That we're facing a real problem. So this is my library, right? I think that probably on the panel I must have this very smallest seed library. So this is my 2 boxes of seeds. And I would really like to know more about the laws and what to do about them, because frankly, I'm afraid to take in seeds. I just got started. I don't want to get shut down. So right now what I'm doing is packaging up seeds that have been bought. You know, they're organic, heirloom seeds, but I'm afraid to branch out. So there's my policies and I've got a chart of what's good to grow in Phoenix, so what you should be planting now. And there's my lending policy. Let's see, that's 4 bullets. So it's really simple. And it basically, I didn't have any limit when I first started. The gardening club is who supplied me the first seeds that I had. And they were storing their seeds in a hot shed. And I thought, oh, I think I can help you. Why don't you bring them to the library? So they were like, okay, great. And then I packaged them from there. And the one criteria I had for them, I said, well, will it be okay if I offer them to the public? And he said, yeah, that would be fine. And then I got a small grant from Native Seed Search, and I bought some more seeds. I purchased some seeds by myself because I'm really committed. I believe in this. And I didn't have any limit on how many packets you could take out until somebody took 50. And I thought, okay, how about 10? We'll do 10 a month. So that's my story. I think that's it for slides. Yeah.
Okay, pass it on down.
Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. My name's David King. I'm with the Seed Library of Los Angeles. I don't have a presentation. I'd rather use your imagination. You'll imagine more than I could ever give you. The Seed Library of Los Angeles, this is amazing. Let's put the glasses back on for a second. I don't want to address an audience of blobs. So I think it was probably about November, well, maybe October of 2010. The idea for a seed library had been presented to me in 2009, and I looked it up, and it was a lot of work, and I'm allergic to work, so I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And then in 2010, by the time the Obama administration had passed over the laws passed over the acceptance of GMO alfalfa and GMO sugar beets, I went ballistic and decided that the only thing I could do, because I didn't want to be a politician, and hopefully we won't get into that side of what happened to me after I became a politician, But I decided that as a gardener, I could grow seeds and save seeds, and therefore I could ensure the diversity that I longed for, that I wanted to have in the food supply. And so I got on the phone, I got on the internet, and I found Richmond Grows Seed Library. In those days it was just Richmond Seed Library. And fired off an email to Rebecca, who called me in about 30 minutes and scared the shit out of me, because people don't do that in Southern California. You know, you answer in 4 or 5 days and then you say maybe, you know. And I didn't realize that I thought she was the Mama Pooh Bear of all seed libraries in the United States, because she had so much data on her website, and so we used a lot of that data. But I was also very clear that I did not want to be in a library, that I wanted a standalone project, because my mission was not to give out seeds. My mission, and the SLOLA mission, is to build a network of seed-saving gardeners. And we don't want you to just get the seeds. We want you to return the seeds. This is very vital to our mission. And so that's been harped on from day one. We have over 1,000 members, as we said. Of the 1,000 members, probably only about 250 really are interested in saving actual seeds. The rest of them said, "Oh, we'll give you." All right. So to join the seed library, it's $10 for a lifetime. Okay. Oh, I'll give you $10. You know, that's what happens. I want to support you. Here's $10. Here's $10. I'll give you $10. You know, I think I've got something like $70 or $80 sitting on my desk from people that just don't want to save seeds, but they want to just give me $10. And so 250 people are actually really interested in physically saving seeds. And then of those 250 people that are really anxious to actually learn how to save seeds, 25 are saving seeds and bringing back seeds. But those 25 make up for a good chunk of the 250 that don't bring back seeds. In that if you have somebody who's bringing back seeds, they're bringing back a quantity of seeds. I mean, you know, if you have one person saving 2 tomatoes and they bring back the seeds, that's going to take care of 5 or 6 people taking out tomatoes easily enough. So, 2 things I want to point out on the legislative side of things, or the legal side of things, is one, the California seed law is probably in many cases more strict than most state seed laws. But also, in line with that, the California seed law has 2 things that go in our favor. And one is that a small quantity of seeds can be given by one farmer to another farmer as long as they live within 2 or 3 miles of each other. And so we're all pretending to be farmers that live within 2 miles of the seed library. And secondly, that our laws are enforced at the county level. And this is way different than having somebody from Sacramento come down and say, "You're stupid and you got to stop." Because the guy who is the county agent in Los Angeles has been to my facility. Right, he's certified as to sell at farmers markets, and he knows me and I know him. Now that doesn't mean he likes me necessarily, but he has a face to it, and he has a property to it. And so I honestly don't think that we're going to be shut down in California at all. But I am also prepared for it if we do. And I just want to tell you that in enforcing all these seed laws that I've seen, part of the penalty is you forfeit your seeds. Right? You forfeit. You don't get to go to court and say, "I don't want to forfeit my seeds." You forfeit your seeds. If they find you, if the agent comes along and says you're in violation of the policy, you forfeit your seeds. I don't want to forfeit my seeds. My seeds are too valuable to forfeit. So we've had to work out we have plans in place to avoid that. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to tell you my secrets. So that's where I come from, and I do believe that the laws have to reflect our integrity as well. And I can't see. I mean, you know. So more on.
Hi, I'm Joe. Where to begin?
At the beginning.
I thought we were going through slides and you didn't show any slides.
I'm not technophobe though.
I'm not sure where I fit in exactly here. I don't work with a seed library. I have a very small local seed exchange, but the underlying issues are the same. I think as far as the law is concerned, we're going to be dealing with the same push and pull as far as distributing seeds. So if something comes to play with seed libraries in the state of Arizona, it's going to affect seed exchanges as well, and I think that's probably the case across the board. We're also looking at starting a regional seed exchange. We haven't gotten too far other than the conceptual process with that, and I'm not sure that that the law is going to impact us, since we won't actually be touching any of the seeds, but we'll be facilitating the exchange of seeds, and that would be interstate probably, so that might even reach a higher level of alarm with the feds as far as that goes, since that's not strictly local. And I'll get to my handout when we get to that, but you have some slides?
Yeah, and I don't even remember what they are, so I hope they're relevant.
You gotta pass it.
Thanks. So I came to this as a librarian, and I actually was in library school when Justine asked me to be a part of the seed library, and I was asked because I stupidly walk around talking about my garden all the time, and the plants that I did, and so they're like, oh, you know about plants? Come on board. So I was sort of picked for, oh, and it's just sideways. I think all of my slides were sideways for some reason.
Everybody
So
get on your slide.
We don't have to do my slides. But anyway, so I was asked to come on board while I was in library school, and it was wonderful for me because everything I did in library school, I used the seed library as my assignment. I was able to actually apply every concept of librarianship and library school hands-on to developing this special collection at the Pima County Public Library, which was amazing, and I got great grades because it was pretty innovative, and not anybody else had ever done it. I helped establish, when our administration decided we couldn't just have a shoebox of seeds in a branch, that we had to make them available to all million Pima County residents. I helped establish how we would do that, whether we would use scientific or common names, how we would do the cataloging. Our catalogers and I had to come up with a system of using mark records and things to apply to seeds, which really hadn't been done before, I don't think, and we continue to change that all the time. And as we went on, one of the assignments in library school was the research and methodology class, and they're like, well, you have to know what your goal is, and you have to be able to measure that. So we established a database at that point based on the assignment. It was my assignment, and that's how we started tracking our seeds. We didn't even really think of that at first. We're just like, oh, seed library, we're just going to share seeds. So we started establishing these protocols just kind of randomly, and then realized as we went along how important it was and how we needed to be able to track our successes and be able to track what was coming in and where it was going and if we needed to pull it back out. So we've been working on all of those things as we go along, and through our cataloging and database, we have ways of, we assign specific numbers to each donation. We keep track of our donations, whether they're from a company or whether they're from a local person. And we do statistics every month and track our data so that we can track these things. I don't think we're where we need to be, but as we are finding out what we need, we're finding ways to keep that information and track it so that we will hopefully be able to address some of these issues as they come forth, if they come forth through the legislative process. So, oh, you got them. This was just, Betsy had some questions that she had sent us, and I know the donation slip. So this is the kind of information that we look for with our donations. It's not at all perfect, and 90% of our donations come back not completely filled out. And I'm usually glad to get what type of seed it is. We're hoping through time, since the seeds that go out have a unique number on the label, we're hoping through time that people will reattach that number when they donate seeds back, so we'll know that it came from one of our seeds and which donation it originated from, and we'll be able to track that kind of information. We're not at that level yet of donations. This is our database, and these are the kind of things that we keep track of. We have the common name, the difficulty, variety, we do the scientific name, the seed source is either local or the company that we got it from. Processing status is something I'll be going over during my protocol session tomorrow, where I go in more depth about how we organize our seed library. And then the branch that it's going to, the inventory number, that's the ID number, the number of packets we got from the donation, which staff person put it in the database so we can track mistakes and things. And then we have 3 boxes down at the bottom for the crop description, planting information, and story. And those are always the things that are least filled out on the donation slip that we're trying to find out. This is our labels that we have on every single seed. You can see the unique ID number, the seed source, where it came from, and the information that we decided was the most important information to share. And then this is our cataloging record, which is probably more relevant to librarians than anyone else, but that's how we use the MARC records to, so anything on that page, if you put it in our search, will bring up that record. So if you search, even native seed search in our catalog, it'll bring up all the seed library donations because we have them in our MARC records. So we have alternate titles, especially with our the use of the common names. Sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 common names as alternate titles in our MARC record, because if somebody's looking for a seed but they call it something and they're from Illinois, it might be different than what we put on the label, but it'll pull up our records so that they'll be able to find it. So that's my story and where I fit in.
Beautiful, thank you everybody. So now we're going to talk about germination. Seed industry obviously has, it was spoken about earlier, that there's different percentages of germination depending on what vegetables we're talking about, right? And at Common Soil, what we have done is we have color-coded each of our seed packets depending on the year. So every year is a different color. Our first year is blue, second year is green, third year is red, and then we have average seed life. And every year we pull things that may be suspect to not being viable anymore. Not that we stay up with seed industry standards, but we do have a system for keeping track of germination rates just so we know what's on our shelf. And I want to know, how does everyone else keep track of germination rates?
Well, I don't really keep track of the germination rate. I do put the date of the seeds on the individual packets so I know how old they are. And then I keep an eye on the gardens too, because the students are taking the seeds and planting them in the garden. And I did notice that some radishes were planted. I could see my little stickers in there, and they didn't germinate, so I pulled them out of my collection.
We do pretty much the same thing, except that our packets, we keep things in bulk. You come to a meeting the 3rd Saturday of each month at the Seed Library, and you are given, as the meeting begins, you're given a copy. We pass around copies of the inventory and also a seed checkout form. And you decide, you can write down your seed checkout form, check out, and ask for these seeds. We collect the forms during the meeting, and our seed librarians, we have 3 or 4 that work back there and fill the packets for you. So the packets are filled for you. Also, our packets are not necessarily full packets in some cases. You get maybe 6 seeds for tomatoes. You don't get 50 seeds because nobody's got room to plant 50 tomatoes in Los Angeles. If you have, I want to talk to you about funding. Germ tests are not usually done unless we are given a problem. A problem is reported about something. We take, according to let's see, seed saving deputy. And the only reason to have a seed, the only thing she finds true about seed longevity charts is that tomatoes last a long time and onions don't. We tend to keep onions only for a year, and also parsnips. I think those are the 2 that we find last the least. But we don't. I mean, yeah, and also if we have multiple years of a seed, and like tomato seeds, for example, we'll give you the oldest first. We'll in and out. We have done germ tests only where we thought there was a problem, and then we just line up 10 seeds by 10 seeds, and end up with how many we got sprouted. And so far, you know what? Our germ tests have always shown that we've had fairly decent seed. So. Usually when it doesn't come up, it's user, what do they call it, user error.
As a seed exchange, we don't keep an inventory of seeds, so we're not too worried about germination rate from our side of things, but we do educate the people who are coming to the seed exchange, that the responsibility is on them as the recipient of seeds to make sure to ask the right questions of the person that they are getting the seeds from. So.
We also do not really track germination rates. We've never really, I mean, I came at it as they're free seeds, and our gardeners, as a public library, we have no control over who's borrowing our seeds, their level of expertise, or what they're doing with them. So there's really it would be difficult to know if it was them, the 110-degree weather, what made those seeds not come up. However, even though that's the case, we have recently initiated a collaboration with City High School, which is right across the street, and their science department, and those kids are going to start doing some germination testing through their curriculum, which we will then definitely document in our database along with the donations that they correlate with. And we would do the same thing if we ever got, definitive complaints about a seed, which we have never had to my knowledge. We would be able to pull a whole batch of a donation if somebody said none of these came up and it was somebody, and we got more than one report of it, so we would know it was more than just user error or climate or something. We would be able to pull them. But we have not really put a high value on that up until this point, because again, we're like the bottom rung of the seed movement in the sense that we're just trying to get people to understand that food comes from seeds and that you can plant them and they grow things occasionally. So we're not necessarily your heirloom, pristine, seed-saving venue. We're more just trying to get people, the more people exposed to the idea that we can. We're about access and about free access and information. So hopefully that grows with time and we'll get to that place.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Oh, you have long arms.
I have long arms.
All
Maybe I can
right.
do it.
Okay. Nice.
And that way I get to say something as it goes back.
As Rumi said, there's millions of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. And I think that one thing that we realize as seed librarians is that, or anybody, gardeners and farmers or whoever, there's so many ways to do things. And so I love hearing everyone's feedback. Thank you. So the next topic I'd like to talk about is seed return forms. I developed one this winter when I realized that we were not up to Nebraska seed law. And I thought, well, are we really not up to Nebraska seed law? Or, and I think we are actually in a lot of ways in compliance. So after I developed this form, then I wanted to know, does anyone else have forms that when people return seed, do you automatically distribute it? Or do you have some sort of way of tracking how they saved it? Is there someone questioning people as they return things? What does your form look like? And do you distribute everything that's brought in? If you have a question about something, do you poll it? If no, if you do not distribute, where does it go? I know in Omaha, we put ours on the seed swap on the table and just say, we're not sure about this. And I also want to know, should we have a universal form that we hand out for all seed libraries just to make sure that we are all in practicing integrity with our seeds? So, thank you.
Well, I actually do have a return form, and there is one student who's really committed to bringing back seeds. And I feel a little bit guilty that I'm not putting them out. I've been taking some home to see what they are, and there's not enough information on the form. I do have a form. Rebecca Newburn has been so generous in all the materials that she supplies. It was really easy. I just basically adapted her form for my library. So yeah, I would. I'm curious about that. I'd like to know more, how that would work.
We have a form now. We've just instituted this in the last several months. When you take your seeds from the library, you actually, let's say you have 3 packets of seed, it is actually bundled inside of a form that says, we want these seeds back. We have also limited people that have checked out over 50 varieties and not brought anything back. Because the idea is to have a seed library, and if you stole the books, they wouldn't let you back in the door. Our return form tends towards a little bit extensive. We have a chart there. You can either write in or you can just check along a spectrum about about your feelings about the seed. Was it easy to grow? Was it good to grow? Did it have good flavor? What are your overall? Will you grow it again? So you choose amongst, you have a variety that you can choose along there. Plus, we also ask for all kinds of data. One of the first things we ask at the top is, are you level of experience as a seed saver? I am a neophyte. I have a clue. I rock it, and so you check one of those, and if you bring back broccoli seed and you are checked as a neophyte, somebody is going to talk to you nicely. We're just, we're not no knuckles. We're just going to, come in and say, okay, how'd you grow it? How'd you make sure it was pure? This is one of the advantages we have of not being in a library, and why I did not want to be in a library, why I wanted to be a standalone institution, because I want to be able to talk to you. When you bring it back, I want to say, how'd you grow it? How did you protect against cross-pollination? And if it's suspect seed, free table. We have a very large and happy free table, and it will be found there.
We've got a form that we make available at all of our swaps, and on posters at the post office, just talking about seeds anytime we can get the word out about seeds. When we started the exchange, we were torn between how much to ask people about their seed isolation practices, population size, whether their plant was healthy or had issues. It was a really tricky thing to ask people, because we didn't want to scare people off. We didn't want to make it sound like rocket science, or that you needed to fill out a 5-page document just to bring your seeds to a swap, or read a 5-page document just to feel like you're getting good seeds at the swap. So we struggled with this issue a little bit. I think we were of one mind in our exchange, the collaborators, but we knew that there was a big spectrum of opinions out there, and reasons for those opinions. From the, we just want everyone to be excited about gardening and grow things, to, well, we want to make sure that if this says it's such and such variety, that it's going to grow as that, and that it's not cross-contaminated. So what we did was convene a mini seed summit with other seed librarians and like-minded people in the state. And we all had a big conversation, and it was interesting. I think our views there were as many views as there were people there. I think most people tended to be on the more relaxed end, and I and my collaborators tended to be on, I don't want to say uptight, but a little more concerned, at least that there be full disclosure, not that people had to use these practices of seed isolation or population size with broccoli, but that whoever would be receiving that seed at a swap should know whether it was isolated or not, and what they might be able to expect from that seed. So it took us a while to come up with a form, because we wanted something kind of small, and I actually have a bunch of these if you can pass these out. Can you do that for me?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't know if that's enough. So we spent a lot of time thinking about the verbiage on the form, and it's nowhere near perfect. I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from looking at other people's methods. But just trying to get the basic information, not frighten people with the questions. They can answer, I don't know, if they don't know. And the more lengthy information is on our website that guides them on how to fill out that form. And if they don't want to answer a question or don't know what it means, then that's okay too. So I think it's worked quite well. I don't think we've scared anybody off, although it would be nice to be able to gather some more information from folks as well.
Since we're on this question, I was going to go back to mine, but I don't think it. All right, so we just recently changed ours to include the attempts to prevent cross-pollination, isolation distance, hand pollination, and then yes, no, and unsure. And again, we don't always get this, and we don't always get it all the way filled out, but when we do, we use the information. And if we are suspect or don't have enough information, we have some different things. We do have a couple of generic bib records in our catalog, like red tomato, and if we don't know really what that tomato is, but they said it's a red tomato, we might put it in there. There's different kinds of gardeners, and I'm one of those gardeners that I like to put a seed in and just see what happens. And if something happens, it's cool. Whatever happens is cool. But I know gardeners that want to put a seed in and get exactly what they're going to get to make grandma's, marinara sauce. And it has to be this right tomato, and it has to be the right bounty and everything. So I think there's a lot of different types of people. I would totally check out generic tomato seeds and just see what came up, and see if it grew well here. And if it did, I would save them. Another thing is we don't really want seeds back from a lot of people that grow our seeds, because unless it grows really well here and tastes really good and they got a really good crop, we're just passing on a tomato plant that was scraggly and made 2 tomatoes. I don't really think that's going to help the next person's gardening finesse either. So we find that people that were gardening and saving seeds before we started the seed library are our best donators. They're the people that they're like, wow, there's somewhere I can put my seeds now. Finally, I have someone to share them with. But some of the little school gardens do it, and they'll return seeds that they've taken from the seed library. And I think over time we're going to get some stewardship programs in the schools where they'll just take one seed, and in their curriculum they'll teach from seed to seed, and maybe they'll grow out some plants and some seeds for the seed library. But our mission is different. Again, we're a public library. Our mission is access without boundaries, without restrictions, and we don't require any level of expertise from people. If we are really suspect about a seed, we might put it in seed balls that go out, to something or on a free table at a seed swap. We don't put them in the drawers if there's something really suspect about them. But we do try to use as many locally donated back seeds as we can, because our goal is to be a locally acclimated seed bank, with seeds that grow here the most successfully for the type of people that we're providing seeds to, which would be maybe newer gardeners or not as expert gardeners. So that's our mission. And as you can see, well,
I'm sorry, I changed
that's
it.
all right. You saw our donation stuff. I think it'll change over time, because we are going to try and implement putting the specific ID number on each one of them. And we find that we like the little form, but those little lines intimidate people, and you don't get very much information when you have to write super tiny on the line. So we're still addressing some of those issues. David.
I don't want to hang up on where Joe tried to kidnap it.
All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is labeling. At the recent Central Plant Board meeting that I went to, they said that consumer protection was a really big issue. And as we all know, we're not consumers, so we're a free person-to-person thing. But we need some labeling that separates us from that. And people go in there and they check out the seeds, and they might expect them to be up to a certain code, and they might not be at that code. So is it important to have a signage disclaimer? That's one thing that I want to know from you guys. And if so, what maybe could it say? Another thing that I'd like to know is labeling on your seed packets. So what do you have on your seed packets? At Common Soil, we just have the regular name and the Latin name. There's not a lot of ability to put all the information that's required on industry standard labels on our packets, especially because a lot of them aren't filled in by hand. And labeling is, we all know it's important. If you're a seed saver, then you might have had the experience saying, oh, I'll remember this later, right? Raise your hand if you had that. Never remember it. Label, label, label. Okay, so let's talk about labeling.
Great. Yeah, I do the same kind of thing, but the common name, the scientific name, and if there's any sort of special directions about how deep to plant it or when's the best time, I'll add that too. But it really just depends on how much detail I feel like at the moment to put on the packet. But common name and scientific name.
Well, we're a little even. This is interesting because we're the lightest so far. We have our SLOLA number on the packet, our SLOLA inventory number, and the type of seed, tomato, common name, and variety. The point I think we feel behind that is that with the SLOLA number, you can look up online and see it in our inventory and get Solanum, Lypersicum, or whatever, and you can also get more details there. We are in the process of writing a catalog, with descriptions of each plant. We are not copying other catalogs because other catalogs say things that we don't want to say, because all the other catalogs are written for folks back east. And so the days to maturity do not equal our days to maturity, especially in the winter vegetables where we're planting them at the end of summer going into winter. You guys, the people on a more continental system, the days are getting longer and warmer as the plant matures. In our case, the days are getting shorter and colder as the plant matures. So the 24-day radish is more like a 36 or 38, 40-day radish. So we're going to include all that data, but we're writing our own catalog, and I just like to say that it's one of the more painful writing projects I've ever done.
Our labels are synonymous with our forms, so.
The form is the label. Yeah.
And as you can see, that's our label, and it's done on a publisher document that we have a template, and as we're, after we get things cataloged, we go to the record and we take the exact same information out of our catalog and put it on the label. And for us, the most important thing is not agriculture regulations or anything, but it's so our pages can find the paging slips and fill the holes, because our pages don't know anything about gardening or anything about seeds, and we send them out there with a slip that says this person across town wants this seed. It has to match the label exactly, or they're going to get something completely random. So that's what's behind primarily our adherence to strict labeling.
I just wanted to add that our seeds, of course, are checked out in a meeting, and so we're there to answer questions, and so that's one of the reasons our packets can be so lame on information.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question that's kind of a loaded question. It has actually, I think, about 3 questions in it.
Oh, no.
And then we're going to
write them
open up
down.
the questions, because I see there's only 5 minutes left here, and I only want to keep you guys 5 extra minutes. I want to give you a break. Am I right? We end at 40 after? Yeah. Everybody? Okay. So no one answered my question, and I should have called you out from the beginning about, is it important to put a signage disclaimer saying for consumer protection? Do we want to label that? Is that something that we want to establish as part of our protocol? Also, is it important to address noxious weeds? Oh, 3:15?
We have a break from 3:15 to 3:30.
Talk slower.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So we have time.
Oh, we can have a longer break.
Okay.
Whatever works out.
Is it important to address noxious weeds? So the reason why the USDA Plant Board, Central Plant Board, thought it's important for us to address noxious weeds is because they spend a lot of money every year, of our taxpayers' money, regulating that across borders. And they feel that maybe we may not be aware of some noxious weeds. And maybe if we're not aware of it, then we could end up distributing it. So this is something that I want to know, is this something important for us to address? If so, how do we address it? Do we address it by knowing what the noxious weeds are in our state and keeping a record of that and just saying that we do that? Or do we address it in another way? So that's the second question. And well, let's just do that for now maybe, huh? Okay.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. I'm not sure a disclaimer would free us from any liability of passing out noxious seeds, but I think it's good to inform the person who's taking the seeds that, what their expectations might be, kind of setting the expectations that we're not entirely sure. These are community seeds in the case of most of the people on the panel. On mine, again, I'm mostly buying them from companies.
I don't have warm fuzzy feelings about signage, a disclaimer, signage with disclaimers. I don't think it's that necessary. I think the noxious weed argument is a red herring. I mean, she's packaged and hers from commercial packages. Most of ours came originally from commercial packages at some point. We have the people that are doing this, the seed packing. These are mostly gardeners with the, they're gardeners coupled with the exactitude of a librarian. So, one of these seeds does not look like the other. Let's not give that seed away. I mean, I just think it's, I can't see it. I just can't see it. The only thing I could think of along that line, I'm sorry, I keep kicking Jo. I don't know why. I actually like her. You have something like Queen Anne's lace that crosses with your carrots. I think that could be a problem, but I don't think Queen Anne's lace is considered a noxious weed in my state. But that could happen. I think that if we grew it out, we would do what Bill says. If you have a mistake, you eat it.
As far as signage disclaimer, we've basically got that on our website, that people are supposed to, we decided we wanted to pull people along instead of pushing them. So instead of trying to get people to save seeds the right way, and do things the textbook, we decided instead to ask the swabbee. We have a list of what to look for in the seed. That if you're looking for tomato seeds, here's what you want to ask the person who you may potentially accept a swap from. So that doesn't really apply to libraries, but I'm the exception here. So, and so the signage disclaimer, basically on the website, we tell people what not to get. We do, as far as noxious weeds and other prohibited or endangered plants, because we do permit not just food plants, but wild plants, whether food or medicinal, and also ornamental plants. Our focus is on food, but we let people do what they want. But we do have a list of what's illegal, and of course our disclaimer as an organization that people aren't supposed to engage in that. Whether they do or not, that's on them. So that's how we cover it.
Their karma.
Yeah, we do, we check the websites, the state websites, when we have any suspicion. We get morning glory seeds all the time, and those are invasive species here in Arizona, and so we were giving them away last night at the seed swap to people that don't live in Arizona, hopefully. There's certain things that we have to watch out for here, and we do check anything that we think might be an issue with the Arizona Agriculture Department's list, or state, agriculture list. For noxious weeds or for invasive species, to make sure that we're not purposely putting those kind of things out. Again, I think with David, like when we're packaging seeds, we're putting 10 or 20 seeds in a pack and we're looking at all the seeds, and you pretty much would notice if there was weird seed mixed in with the seed. So I don't think it's as big of an issue for what we're doing at all. We haven't had that issue come up at all.
So cataloging is one other thing that it can be, it's very unique from library to library. And depending on how the system is, I just want to know, is it important to you to distribute any seed that gets passed to you? So a lot of seed libraries get donated seeds. I know in Nebraska, the Beatrice Seed Library was distributing a lot of hybrid seeds, and that was pretty much 90% of what they were distributing. And when I came in contact with them, I asked them that maybe would you be willing to pull these from your shelf? Because I think it's really important to distribute open pollinated seeds. But they said that that's our main source, and we're working with a low income. And I want to know, I want to know how everyone feels about distributing open pollinated versus hybrid. What are some positives and negatives to doing each or distributing both? How do we discern patented seeds from unpatented seeds, and is that something that we should be concerned about? And then beyond that, and I can remind you guys of these questions when we're going, if I ask too many, okay? Do you have a strategic plan for inventory? At Common Soil, we have about 112 varieties of plants available, and then we could go through the Millennium system, very similar to Pima County, actually, I want to think. Kelly and Justine and everyone here that helped actually us get set up, because we are on the Millennium system and they came to Omaha and helped us get established. But what we noticed is that the cataloger from the library had a big workload every year because there was constant inputs in the system. And for example, with tomato varieties, tomatoes grow really well in Nebraska. We grow 140 on the farm I work at every year, and there's always something new we want to try. And you all probably have had that experience where you always want to try new things. Well, is it important for the library to catalog red Roma, yellow Roma, or does it need to be that specific San Marzano red Roma? You know, is that something that we should, you know, what should we do in that scenario? And can it work differently from library to library? Okay, so that's all I'm going to
That's
ask
enough for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can only remember the last one, so. In terms of the cataloging, well, when I was going to do the cataloging, I looked to Pima County's system to see if we could do that, and I went to our catalogers, and they were like, no, we really don't want the seeds to show up when they're looking for a book or something like that. And so they didn't want to do that. So then I looked around for other solutions, and I basically made an Excel sheet. But the thing that I would like to get a student to help me with is a database that I discovered that's open source, and it's you can find it if you go to the Permaculture Alliance of Phoenix, and they've got it. It's basically open source software, and you just put your inventory in there and you keep track of it, and then that database can be then embedded inside another little website. And so I've got a website that I'm developing for the collection.
Okay, wait. Next question, the hybrid open pollinated distribution of patented seeds.
Okay, yeah, the hybrid open pollinated and patented seeds. That issue really hasn't come up for me because I'm really focused on the open pollinated heirloom seeds. Those are the ones that I've been ordering. It's interesting with the patented seeds, you know, I have a relative who does that type of work, and she was telling me that she thinks there's a farmer in Canada who's found her seeds and growing these beans and so on. And so it's an interesting you know, issue that we should be thinking about in terms of some people are making their living off of this, and is it okay for me to pass them out? I don't know that it would be.
Thank you for this question. We have our own inventory system set up by one of our original members who was a database manager. Our system is set up, we have inventories divided first into cool and warm season, because in California we have, in Los Angeles, we don't have an off season. We have the cool season, which is the cruciferae, root crops, fava beans, peas, lentils, garbanzos, all that, potatoes, well, that's a root crop. All those are winter crops, and then we have our summer crops. So we package our, whatever season we're not in is packaged and placed into the refrigerator and held there until we get back to that season again, and then we pull it out and revisit it. 2 months out of the year, March and September, we make available both inventories, because there's actually still time to finish off a hot season in September and starting with the cool season in September, and then in March you can begin to start your warm seasons and you can still get by with a cold season. We do no hybrids whatsoever, none. Those would go on the free table. Patented seeds, we do, and because we do no hybrids, we do no patented seeds. Absolutely. There's no need for them. I don't like the term open pollinated at all, because when you're doing a squash, you have to control the pollination to end up with an open pollinated plant. And that seems like a misnomer to me. We're dealing with, we have strived, insofar as capable, as to keep varieties separate. If I am growing a red curry squash, damn it, I do not want to end up with a Queensland Blue or a Queensland Red. That'd be even worse, right? Or a curry Queensland. I don't know. I just don't want it. If it says that on the packet, I want that to be the packet. Now, this year, I've just decided that we're going to begin to work with in some crops, we're going to work with land races, which is where I'm going to order in Next fall, starting next fall, I'm going to put in about 5 different varieties of broccoli, and I'm going to plant them all in the same area and let them all cross. And then I'm going to plant out again the following year, and probably within 3 years, I will have a Southern California land race. In other words, uncontrolled, genuinely open-pollinated broccoli that we can people check out from the library. So one of the reasons to have a seed library is to educate people and get them away from the idea of the hybrid, get them away from the idea of the patenting of life. I think these are both very important issues, and I think we hit them head on. We do not do that. Not that I have an opinion.
I guess I'm in the David camp on this.
All right.
I'm not opposed to hybrids. I think in some cases there's hybrid vigor, but that doesn't go for all species. And you know, if someone has very, very limited garden space and wants to grow one amazingly productive hybrid variety of whatever, I have no argument with them. But as an organization, our underlying goal is the maintenance of the genetic diversity that we have and the proliferation of that. So I find hybrids to be just kind of meaningless filler in that department. So we don't do those. Also, patented varieties, you know, we want to be able to tell everyone they can save their seed. Toward that end, we also do encourage people to share cuttings of things, and a lot of mints and some kinds of basil. You're not going to get the same thing from seed and that you're going to get from a cutting, and of course that's fine. That's part of that diversity that's out there from species to species. As far as variety names, it's really important to us to get those from people, because I think that's the only way that the story continues on.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that from people, though. We do get that red round tomato that people want to share, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not sure how much the convention of naming varieties is a more recent thing. Basically, we've just always, as a species, we've saved what worked, whether that had a name or not. So if someone has something that works great, we encourage them to note that it's something they came up with or that they don't know its source. Give it a name, but make a point to tell us that that's a name that they have only just applied to that. So it encourages people to be innovative and creative and have fun with the process as well.
Okay. The brochures that we put in your package are our borrow and share brochures that outline our rules for the library, and we ask for no hybrids and only open pollinated heirloom seeds, or I don't think we speak to patented seeds in there, but we do ask for no hybrids, and we get hybrids donated occasionally, and they go on the free table, or sometimes they'll go in a seed bomb somewhere, at an outreach thing where little kids are making mud balls out of them or something. But yeah, hybrids would defeat the whole purpose of the hope of getting seeds back, and there's really no point to that for what we're doing either. So what else did you have? I've lost track of this question. What else were
It was
we
a long
speaking
one.
to? It was a long question.
Labeling, so what's important to have on the cataloging? Do you
Inventory.
think it's important to catalog things as like red rum or red slice, or to have the specific catalog names?
And what Betsy said about keeping things up to date, it is arduous, and I'm part of that process, and it is very difficult. We have one cataloger, and we send all new varieties to her on an inventory database. Like once a month, we'll send her 50 new seeds that she has to put back in there. We can rarely get back the ones that we've already cataloged, so it's not like we always maintain them. They just kind of go away. That's why we do have the generic one, but I think it is important for the people that want that specific variety. I mean, we put the variety on the label for people who that's important to, and if they return it with that variety, we would like to keep that strain going so that people know what they're growing. For the people like me that are just guerrilla, magical gardeners, that whatever happens, happens, then I can, I will keep track of it and return it if it comes with a variety, but if it doesn't come with a variety, it doesn't bother me. And we do have generic records for some of the more common ones that just come in without a variety on them. And we do get people who grew things from farmers market fruit that they got it, you know, they go, oh, it's organic, and I'm like, well, do you know if it's a hybrid? Because you can grow something organically even if it's hybrid, really. I mean, likely it's not, I suppose, if it comes from a farmer's market, but you don't know. So, yeah, so we have issues like that where people just don't know, or they've grown it from a grocery store fruit or vegetable. But I have this one gardener who's done it for generations, so he's giving us seed that he grew from a grocery store fruit or vegetable, but he's grown it out enough times that we know it grows true, and then he donates seeds. So, you know, there's a lot of, but he doesn't know the variety because he, you know, bought a squash at the grocery store. So, you know, we get all kinds of donations, and we try to address them each separately, but I do think there's a cause for keeping the varieties if you can. And yeah, I guess I wouldn't be upset if I got a yellow Roma when I was expecting a red Roma, but I would kind of like to know which one I was trying for if I was going to go for it, just personally. But so I think that there's room for both of those things. I think, you know, depending on what your mission is, and that's something I wanted to make a point of. Every seed library has a mission, and it's different for every seed library. Our mission is truly, eventually, to have a locally acclimated, desert acclimated seed bank that's free and open to everybody. So there's going to be some inconsistency there, but at least, you know, we're aiming towards a goal of seeds that will grow here. But yeah, we don't want a million kinds of tomatoes if they don't grow in Tucson. It doesn't do us any good, you know. And so we have our own mission, but other people have a mission of maintaining heirloom purity, and that's their mission. That's a totally different mission, and it's going to be approached in a completely different way. And I think that the most important thing when you start a seed library is to know what your mission is and be able to measure your success. Our success is going to be measured. We put in whether it's a local or company donated seed every time we get a donation. We have graphs that show that we're getting more and more local donations. That's our goal. But that's not everybody's goal. You just need to know your goal, and you need to have a way of knowing if you ever achieve your goal, because that's really important. If you don't know if you achieve it, you'll never know if you've reached success or not.
So as Kelly said, we all have unique goals, but I think that we're all in it for resilience. We want adaptation, we want to live on, we want to eat good food, right?